Hello, good people. Daniel here, driving and dragons, ready to do a little bit of driving the conversation. Just gonna let folks start to filter in and say hi in the comment section. If you're there, make sure you hit that like button. Make sure you share this out on your socials and all that fun stuff. And we'll get cracking here in a little bit. Hope everybody is doing fantastic this Thursday evening. Got a couple things coming up on this one, a couple things to cover. I mean, people wanted to ask me about the one-shot quester min-max situation, so I'm going to talk about that, cover a couple of comments from some of the videos that we have had going on our nonsense. Oh boy, looks like we're gonna have some hopefully we won't have too many internet issues with me blimping in and out. Good old Comcast has been a pain in the ass here lately. And have a little fun talking about some nonsense, going through some different groups in the TTRPG space here, and what their people would be if they were car people instead of gaming people. So, kind of the little things we know, like we all know that BMW people don't know what a turn signal is. They believe that feature of their car is that yours just gets out of their way and all that fun stuff. So we're going to do a little bit of that. But like I said, just going to cover and touch on some of that stuff. We've, of course, Dynos, the VultureVerse, Ultra, and God of Ka being coming on board here. Well, got one there. What was that? Andropovocation, huh? Andropovocation. I'm going to have to look that up. I'm sure that has something to do with your name. But anyway, one time D&D game in an hour, but I want to watch the stream, and my character only had enough rations to last for another 2 hours. That is a wonderful tag on one-to-one. But the fun thing is that a big part of the one-to-one time thing is actually going to be talking about the Vulture himself, Condor DM, and the nut that the blind squirrel found. He actually had a relatively decent takedown of the Bro SR and one-to-one time, and it's like, holy crap, he actually bothered to research something and had a relatively intelligent thing to say. But yeah, we're going to touch a little bit on some one-to-one time. I was on Eclectic Goats podcast about it on the Slice and Dice stream. We discussed it a little bit, and I'm going to, since it's fresh in the commentary sphere, I'm going to have a few things. Yes, Ultra, they are supposed to be for a whole day, but I kind of think that is I just reach up, and grab the point before it goes over your head. Don't let the joke's going to get out the window. Catch it. Anyway, so I have this Franken cocktail today. Let's see just how bad this is. Actually, not awful. Probably because I covered it up with a bunch of stuff. So I was going to drink a old fashioned made with some Traveler Blend 40, but then I realized that I did not have enough Traveler Blend 40 to make a full old fashioned. So this is mostly Traveler 40 and a little bit of Old Granddad 114, a little bit of single barrel Old Forester, because I had a couple of just bottoms left in the bottles, and some straight white corn whiskey left over from an aging project I had going on. I was doing some micro barrel aging with some good old fashioned white corn whiskey, and so some straight White Lightning in there. but not nearly the lighter fluid that I thought I would be drinking. I kind of figured that this might end up just going down the drain while I ran out and got a bottle of water for this stream. So, what is this? Just as bad as Madman Fenrir with mixing things with gamer subs. I would have to actually watch them to know that. I'd have to go back and take a look. But one thing I am going to do here is I'm going to go to our, going to pop into my comments section here. And I should have been nice and pulled up some of these comments prior to the video. But, you know, I didn't do that. So, unfortunately, I will not be showing these on the screen. I'll just be reading them out as soon as I get to. This is one of those funny things where I'm actually better at this on my phone than I am on my than I am on the computer. So, where is the first one I was looking out here? I did have one. Of course, I posted the final of the 9 alignments videos with doing the chaotic neutral breakdown. Obviously, like when I went through my alignment series, and I will have more coming in the alignment series, but the initial startup was, what is alignment? What, you know, how do you use it properly? How do you use it mechanically? How do you use it as a role-playing tool? Then a breakdown of what good, evil, chaos, and law are and how they're supposed to be fundamentally run. And then I started going down the list, you know, lawful good, neutral good, chaotic good, lawful evil, neutral evil, chaotic evil, and then finally lawful neutral, neutral, and chaotic neutral I just posted. And always get some great comments on those videos from you guys. Do some great stuff with the alignment videos. But I did have somebody who popped in who said, hey, that they used to use the Palladium system and you know, used it for a basis in the TTRPGs that they run, and with a bit of tweaking, it plays out really well. And they like the fact that it has like principled as lawful good, and anarchist is chaotic neutral, and aberrant is lawful evil. And I figured I'd touch a little bit on the Palladium system as I understand it. So first things first, I am not Max Liao. I am not Legion of Myth, Mr. Palladium. That is not my cup of tea. That is not my area of expertise, but I do know a little bit about it. And basically, I think Palladium they split the baby. So the biggest problem that happens with alignment in most games and in most tables is that people can't get the concept that alignment is a root mechanic. It's not surface level. This is not something that's used as a daily reference for characters. It's not something that some great barometer that dictates the way you have to do things. What it is it's a representation of a character's subconscious. So the things they don't even think about, it's how their brain actually works. It's very, very 10,000 yard view. So it doesn't zoom in so much. And a lot of people have problems with that. The high-minded concepts are difficult for the majority of the population in general. There's an old saying that said that, you know, stupid people talk about people, and average people talk about things, and intelligent people talk about concepts and ideas. And that's not necessarily it often gets thrown around as an insult, and there's more to it than that. But the general rule, what it's kind of getting at is that just like there's different levels of creativity, there's different levels of thought, and most people just do not think on that higher level. Like you see this in arguments online all the time, where you try to present a concept to somebody and they just can't grasp the concept. They keep attacking the example. They keep trying to argue the minute details of whatever analogy you used or whatever example you put forward. A classic example of this is I was on the Legion of Myth podcast, and we were talking, I was arguing with the 4D roleplay crowd. And in case you guys didn't know, if you want a group that's even more obnoxious than the Bro SR, it's the 4D crowd for the most part. The 4D roleplay crowd, we were talking about, a pen being on a desk. And my whole thing was like, if the GM says there's not a pen on the desk, you don't just get to will the pen into existence. It's not there because it's not there. Why isn't it there? Because it's not there. The GM controls the world, not the players. And the players, just because the GM did not specifically outline that something is there, does not mean that the players get to will it into existence, right? And what it came down to is a bunch of them in the comments running off at the mouth and arguing about pens and why can't a pen exist? Why does anybody care about a pen or a book on a bookshelf, something that doesn't matter? And that's because they're fixated on the thing that we're talking about. They're fixated on the example and cannot grasp the concept of it doesn't matter how small or how big it is. The world is controlled by the game master, not the players. The players have agency only over their own players or on their own characters. So what Palladium did, that's a long-winded way to go around to talk about this Palladium thing. They basically zoomed alignment in, and they're like, look, if people are not going to be able to get this more high-minded thing, we're going to throw out this good, evil, lawful, neutral terminology. We're going to throw out this grid system where we're mixing and matching an ethical alignment and a moral alignment and putting them together to make an ethical, moral combination of lawful and good, or lawful good, right? And what they did is they just said, all right, we're going to have our alignments and we're going to put one word on them. We're not going to have lawful good and lawful evil. We're going to have principled and we're going to have aberrant. All right. So now you don't have to worry about arguing about the bits and pieces. You just have the single word. And they also made it more of a surface level idea. Okay. And by doing that, it makes it more easily functional for the majority of the populace. And there is an argument to be made that the Palladium alignment system is better on that front. However, I do think that the traditional alignment system is actually better overall at the end of the day. It's just more difficult. It's to keep with the theme of tonight's show and to keep with the theme of the channel, it's the difference between driving a fast car and driving a race car. A fast car is going to be very fast. And for 99% of the people out there, driving like a Ferrari 458 or something like that is going to be better for them than, say, driving a Ferrari Group 3 race car or even, an open wheel racer. And why is that? The open wheel racer is faster and stuff in every way. Well, the fast road car has traction control, has ABS, has driver assistances, has a transmission that basically does a lot of the thinking and stuff for you. And basically, it's easier for that unskilled driver to drive. Then you put them in the race car that doesn't have any of that stuff. And sure, technically the car is faster, but all it does is sit there and spin out and run off the track because you can't control it. You can barely get the thing in gear. So even though the race car is faster for the average driver, the exotic sports car is better. Same thing with alignment. Palladium is easier for most of us to drive. The 9 alignment system actually functions better. Ultra here still say that 4D role-playing is just Critical Role effect with a different name. I don't care about the 10-page backstory of your world. Just let me roll dice and see what happens. To a certain extent. I don't think it's really Critical Role. I don't think that's necessarily a fair assessment of 4D. But 4D seeks to eliminate the game master. It really does. It basically seeks to, it's almost like deism, if you know anything about theology. A deist is a person who acknowledges that there is a God or there is some higher power, but they maintain the idea that basically he set everything in motion and then just stepped away, and he's either not there anymore or he's no longer hands-on. So God set everything in motion but no longer interacts with the world. He doesn't care what you have to say. He doesn't matter if you worship him or don't worship him, reach out to him, don't reach him. That's what a deist is. And that's kind of how the 4D crowd basically wants the game master to be. They want the game master to do the absolute bare minimum and then just sit back and hold his hands together while he watches the players goof off in the world, and only steps in when absolutely necessary. It really, really relegates the game master to a vestigial organ in a lot of ways. And just like the toxic player agency problems we have in the modern world, and this modern concept that game masters are somehow supposed to be servants to the table, it's the same kind of thing, just from a different direction. That's really what it is. Let's see here. Hit Gotaka real quick. Yeah, Bloodworth says right there, 4D focuses too much on how you say something rather than what you would actually say. It's absolutely 100% correct. And then, of course, Gotaka, Critical Role is more of, hey, let's turn the game into a show, and thus the world building is going to be expansive because the show does need a fleshed out story, not limited to shows either. And that is, yeah, it's fair enough. Critical Role is a little bit more than that because it's a little bit more heavily scripted. So let's see here. What are some of these other pieces that I wanted to grab out of the comments? Of course, we had Blinsdale's come in and talk about paladins and paladins of alignments other than lawful good, which is something that I completely reject. You cannot be anything but lawful good as a paladin. Otherwise, you are not a paladin. You may be a black knight or an anti-paladin or a fallen paladin if you're lawful evil. You may be a crusader of some kind or a champion of some kind for some entity that is not good, but words have definitions, and it's important that we don't dilute those. Can't go away from that. Let's see here. And by the way, thanks for being here, Mr. Bloodsworth. We do always want to jump in and say hi to DM Bloodsworth when he swings by. So, of course, what brought up part of our topics today is that many Bothans died and dropped into intelligence as a dump stat. And so did Zirbip had also jumped in and said they expected something about one-shot questers min-max drama. The battle has really been raging over the cultist questing beast dungeon masterpiece, preferred concise layout description stuff on the on adventures. So those two comments were things that brought in some of the stuff today. Honestly, the whole adventure layout thing, first off, it's not a layout problem. These people have an issue with there being large text boxes and detailed descriptions, which is something the game master needs. He may not need to relay all that information to the players, but that's something he needs. He needs to understand the world. And if you are running a module that is not your world, then your brain has not already necessarily filled in all those blanks. You need that text and that description, whether or not you use it all. And I just do not get this concept of an adventure module should basically be an open book of maps and, an open book of maps and random tables, which is what it kind of seems like they should be. So, but just like a lot of this stuff, they're just taking it too far. That's the big problem. They won't take everything too damn far. They want to strip everything out, and they act like, why are we no longer expecting a game master to know how to read? All right. That's the excuse, like, the GM's going to get lost in all this text and stuff. It's like, why do we not expect them to read the damn module before they run it so that they have an understanding of it? When did this bare minimum of effort become something that we need to work around instead of something that we need to just do? I just don't get it. All right. Old Pock here. No, Bloodsworth, you haven't yet. I haven't gotten to it yet. I will be probably here in a minute. But a poor orc child. You just need to game more, not listen to so many game analyses. In a way, yes. I mean, the analysis is there to help make you better and to do more about the game. But yeah, a lot of us, a lot of people focus too much on not playing, right? That's play the game, test it, see how it works, run your systems. Quit trying to tweak everybody else's things, and when you're not doing it yourself. And yeah, Bloodsworth has a good point there. You know, our expectations have been dumbed down for both players and DMs, and they absolutely have in a big, big way. So let's touch on this one thing real quick because I don't really want to talk about it that much, but people have asked about it. People have asked in comments about it. The one-shot quester deal with min-maxing or min-max podcast, whatever it is. Yet another ridiculous, quote-unquote, live actual play. Live actual plays are never really live actual plays. Even if you are actually just playing the game and filming it, which tends to be incredibly boring, the problem is everybody knows the camera's on. Everybody knows the recording is there. Everything is set up in an unnatural way to make sure that we have the right camera presence and everything. And nobody behaves the way they would just sitting at a game. They're all going to be edited. They're going to be edited in some areas, censored in others, exaggerated in others. And they're not going to play like themselves. They're not going to behave the way they would normally at the table, for good or for ill. You know, actual plays are not actual plays. And for those who don't know, this is the basic gist as far as I know it. The min-maxer group is a bunch of like SCCA nerds, like, you know, Society for Creative Anachronism, you know, sword fencing people. Not quite HEMA, but not fencers either. A bunch of internet content creators and whatnot. And they all got together and started a Kickstarter to start an actual play, you know, like a Critical Role type show. And they raised, I think their goal was like 20 grand, and they raised over 100. And they started talking about, oh, you know, we're going to do multiple seasons and stuff like that, because they had way more money than they actually needed. And also, unlike, say, like if you were going to do a Kickstarter for a game, you got a game you want to put out there. Well, I mean, if you have extra money in your Kickstarter, it's just profit. It's more books sold. It's you take more money. You just sold more than you needed for your goal. You got enough to fund the whole project, and then all the rest of this is just extra sales. But when it comes to the min-maxer thing, it's like, you know, what do you do with the extra money? Well, you know, produce more content. And they'd come out with it. Well, the one-shot quester, I don't know what his problem was there, because from what I understand, he's normally like a game review channel. Like he's you know, or like a maybe even a theory crafting channel. He's not a, you know, he's not an actual play channel himself. I don't know why he decided to go off on this, but he decides to like start ripping it apart and talking about, well, they spent money on this and there's no way they should have spent that much. And just, you know, basically tries to audit their Kickstarter live online. And it's basically calling all of them a bunch of grifters and thieves. And it kind of blew up in his face. Pretty much they could come out and say stuff. Of course, here we go with the internet stuff. But I don't know what decided to make you be this stupid. I don't know what decided to make you blow up like this. But it really blew up in his face, and everybody seems to be talking about it for some reason. And I look at it and I'm like, why do we even care? Guy stepped out, said something stupid, kind of blew up in his face. He way overdid it. And it's just another thing of, why does he not just come out and basically say, hey, you know, sorry about that. Apparently my Teams from my work computer went off. Anyway, so I think it's a bunch to do about nothing. One guy putting his nose where it didn't belong with information he didn't have, and he looks like an idiot. He just needs to say, look, I got it wrong, and move on. But it's just kind of stupid. Let's see here. Did he have a Kickstarter that failed or didn't get as much as the min-max group? I don't know. I don't think he did. I'm not sure. I don't know if there was a jealousy thing or what. It's just stupid is all it is. And then, Bloodsworth is absolutely correct. Now they're just talking about it for clicks and views. I basically ignored it because I thought it was a whole bunch of nothing. But since people decided to ask me what I thought about it, now, yeah, he basically spreads misinformation and tries to double down on it and continues to fail. That sounds like Condor, who we can talk about now. Let's talk some VultureVerse stuff here. So Condor DM has been all over the place here lately. Thanks in part to DM Bloodsworth and to some, getting blasted by OGGM and Double D. He finally managed to creep his way over 1,000 subs and stay there, which he is disordinately proud of and thinks has something to do with his own merit when it doesn't. But he kind of has his own one-shot questing situation. He got in there with Bill Sivey, Dungeon Delver, goes out and tells everybody that he's part of running Bill's online gaming convention. A receipt from PayPal comes out showing that he took $200 from somebody, and Condor actually logged into his PayPal online and showed everybody that no, he didn't get $200. It even shows one of his largest detractors verifying that it is in fact his PayPal, yet there's no $200 receipt. And it probably should have just ended there. Everybody would have just moved on, but Condor cannot leave well enough alone and continues. He has now deleted everything he said about Bill Sivey and even said it. He's like, I've deleted everything I said about this Bill person. Like, people don't know who he's talking about. So I can move on. And it's like, no, dude, you acted like an idiot and it blew up in your face. But blind squirrel will find a nut if he looks long enough. And Condor did this week. 9 times out of 10, 999 times out of 1,000, Condor opens his mouth and embarrasses himself. But every so often he says something and you realize that there is a decent wealth of gaming knowledge in there. And if he would stick to the things he actually knows and speaks about them, or if he took the tiniest little bit of time to do some research, he could actually have some decent content. I wouldn't encourage anybody to watch it because I don't think that there's anybody, including him, nobody benefits from watching his content. Unlike Double D, I don't even think he should be milked as a lol cow and dragged out in front and made fun of on a regular basis and just taken open season on, largely because it's not going to do anything on his side. You're really just giving him the attention that he desperately wants. And I mean, there's only so long before that structure is its stability goes away and it collapses in on itself, and that could be pretty catastrophic. But Condor decided to weigh in on the 1-to-1 time, and it's kind of funny. Years ago, Condor tried to talk about 1-to-1 time and the bro OSR, as he says, which just irritates me to no end. If there's anything about Condor that legitimately makes me want to strangle him, it's that he says bro OSR instead of bro SR. It's not that hard to get it right. He had done a 1-to-1 time takedown a few years back and just proceeded to get online, open his mouth, and show everybody that he had absolutely no idea how it worked. Typical Condor. Speak first, think never, unless somebody shoves your head into it and makes you think. Looked like a buffoon. And like most of his stuff, like 3 people saw it. It got buried into the background. Everybody forgot about it. So when I saw that Condor had posted a 1-to-1 time takedown this week, I was like, oh my God, he's going to do it again. Now the bros are going to jump in on busting him. And I go in there and it's like, holy hell, Condor DM did a little bit of research, a little bit of reading, made some rational points, and managed to just backhand the Bro SR's entire philosophy all over his channel. And I'm like, are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? Getting dunked on by Condor. How bad does it have to be that you get dunked on by Condor DM? It's too bad that he pissed off anybody who would have shown him any goodwill before he did it, right? Hey, here from Diversity and Dragons. Thanks for stopping by, Craig. Appreciate you being here. But no, Saunders is the dude's just he's a clown. I did a diss rap on him years back, or about a year ago, just for the fun of it. Who knows? Maybe what's his face? Ryan David over there at Nerd Cognito. Maybe he'll put it on his album of Condor DM blasting. Thank you, sir. $5 Canadian. He is Canada's greatest embarrassment after Justin Trudeau, that is. I don't know. Justin Trudeau actually went away. Hey, let's think about that. You had, what, 6 years of Justin Trudeau? Something like that? Like 6, 7 years of Justin Trudeau, and that's all you had, and then he went away? How many years of Condor have we had? I think we've confirmed that he's been floating around since 2013. We're going on 14 years of Condor. That's pretty bad. Yeah. If I were absolutely, if I were Canadian, I'll leave that up there for a second. If I were Canadian, I would 100% agree. He is an absolute embarrassment. And I think the worst thing about Condor is that he has unfortunately shown us all that there is something in there that could be of merit. And he is just dead set on being a victim to everybody. He is absolutely delusional, lives in a complete fantasy world, and has to self-sabotage repeatedly. And then, like I said, I honestly think it's almost unfair to call Condor a liar at this point, because I honestly believe that the man's brain is wired such that he believes his BS when he tries to rewrite history. Like, he believes the nonsense about when he starts busting on Bloodworth, who is nothing but nice to him. He believes the nonsense that, like, he honestly believes that Diversity and Dragons' entire channel was built off of busting on him. He honestly believes that I talk about him every single week and several days a week, despite the fact that you can look at my channel and realize that he gets talked about less than really just about any other major figure in the TTRPG world around here. Jenny D has more videos on this channel. I have more reactions to Jenny D than responses to anything Condor ever did. But, I mean, he continues to think that subscriber count is the basis of everything. You look at it and it's like, dude, you get 12 views on your videos, 20, 30 views, 90 views. It's like, I go out there and put one video up on Monday and I have more views than the entirety of your channel. Let's see. I'm a lazy YouTuber, but I have common decency to clean the room when I record my videos. Here's the thing. You don't have to be. You really don't have to be that. That's the sad thing about it is you don't have to be, this great production value. You don't have to go out and have a green screen background and a bunch of clips that you cut out to put in there and all these other, editing tricks and intros and stuff like that. I shoot my videos with the background is me working on a car. I just record it. I put the raw footage in there and I run it in the background while I talk. You don't have to be like you don't have to do that, but you do need to put some effort into what you're saying. And the problem is, I don't think he has the appropriate level of consciousness to do stream of consciousness. And he thinks he needs to be this great expert on all these games. So he jumps in and uses Chat GPT to write reviews for him to go over. It's like, dude, just review the stuff you know and maybe go play some games so that you can review others. Or stick to second edition. There's plenty of content there for you to review and you actually know it. But it's just saying he's kind of one of those ones who is constantly jumping for the silver bullet. That's really the end of the day what Condor is. The reason he changes every 5 seconds is he's looking for what is the new silver bullet that's going to make my channel come up. What he really needs to look at is some silver bullet cleaner for that stain on his door, and maybe put cigarettes down and write an actual script and stick to it. And he's actually a halfway decent interviewer, but he can't do it. He has to make it about himself and his victimhood. You know, look at both Max Liao and Bloodworth. You know, look at the interviews he did. Back and forth, good content. Bam, 10 minutes of Condor talking about how everybody hates him. They're all after him. They're all trying to destroy his channel. Everybody wants to, lie about him. It's all lies. It's all bullshit. It's all evil. Everybody hates Condor. It's like, dude, you're supposed to be interviewing somebody. Nobody cares. You just can't help yourself. Doubts that anybody would game with Condor, maybe on the net. Hey, he says he's done a bunch of gaming. I have this theory that the reason he's Mr. Public Game Master who, did all these public games with all these different players is because he never could get a player to show up more than once. That's probably what it is he just had to get a new group every session. I think the merit, I can at least get a bottle of Mr. Clean and a sponge. Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I don't think his channel's monetized to the point where he can afford that. But yeah, so I just saw that, and it's when I saw the 1-to-1 time thing, and I was like, man, Condor actually, because if I remember correctly, let me look it up real quick. I'm going to dig it up here on the old tubes real fast. Let's go to search for Condor Steven Saunders. No, not his lives. Jesus Christ, he's got like 400 of those. He did. Where is it? You got to scroll through all the crap where it's like, I am a character for the screen, unprofessional. Why I refuse to go on TTRPG? My response to old nerds talking crap about me. Old school Dungeons and Dragons, good intent, bad direction. Old school D&D dealing everything. I'm done with stupid nerds. He was done with stupid nerds and made 7 videos about them. But here's, TSR versus the Bro SR, 1-to-1 times the facts. This video here. He did 22 minutes. This man managed to do 22 minutes and actually say something like 22 minutes of content that's actually worth watching. Don't go watch it. Don't give him the view. We don't need to encourage him. But the fact of the matter is that it's like, dude, you managed to get 22 minutes of what is essentially, and I think he actually scripted this. It sounds like he scripted it well, wrote it himself, and read through it, and actually did it. But it's surrounded in a sea of him bitching about, he's talking 4 and 5 times a day about people who talk about him maybe once a week. And half the time when they're talking about him, it's because he made 4 videos about him and had to respond. No, I mentioned this in the replies on one of Rob's posts. Old Rob Necronomicon, who's great, by the way. Notice Saunders did some house cleaning on his streams page. Yeah, he did a lot of house cleaning on a lot of places. He went in and deleted a whole bunch of stuff off of his X. I have a feeling he's probably going to delete his X and start another new one. He's cleaned out and made private a whole bunch of videos. Really, he's just trying to run damage control like nobody remembers it, like he thinks he can gaslight people. And it's hilarious because so that people are like, you never said it. The way that works is I delete the old video, right? And I never say anything, right? No, I never say anything about it ever again. I just delete it and pretend like it never happened. And then when you're like, oh, your asshole Daniel said this on his channel, blah, 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 and they go on about it and they keep bringing it up, and then a new person comes along and they can't find it, it's like, I don't see where he ever said this crap. Then it works. It doesn't work when you delete it and then you make 4x posts and 9 videos about how you deleted it. And you reference it yourself over and over and over again. He just doesn't know how this shit works. Let's see here. Man, another $2 Canadian from Craig. I mean, look at him coming in here and just throwing money around, man. I love it, man. I appreciate it. You said you came here from Diversity and Dragons. Maybe you haven't been here before, so let me make sure that I put this out there. Everybody who has been here before and been part of my channel before understands this. Money that comes into this channel does not go anywhere else. It doesn't, I don't use it to pay my internet bill or any of that stuff. Any money that comes in here gets set aside for me to fix up cars that I then want to turn around and give away to people in the community, in the TTRPG community. And the way I'll be doing that as it moves forward, and hopefully when it's not, 2036, when I finally get one done, hopefully we ramp up, get to that 1,000 subs and stuff so I can get that pennies of ad revenue and whatnot. But all that money goes to fixing up the cars. And then people on my channel members, Patreons, super chats and whatnot, will have a window open where they can nominate people in the community to receive the vehicle as a, as a donation. Like I said, it's a charitable thing just given to them. So basically every time you throw money into this channel, you're supporting that. Yes, El Caminos are a sweet ride. I am fond of them. They're essentially, for those who don't know, they are a ute, as the Australians say. It's like a car with a truck bed. The El Camino is functionally a Chevy Chevelle that has had the back seats and the trunk replaced with a short truck bed. And they are pretty sweet. First car we've got up, though, is a 1974 Dodge Dart with a 327-inch V8 that a very, very generous subscriber to the channel donated. I just have to rack up enough funds to transport a car down here. And gasoline, by the way, is not helping. The cost of diesel fuel is not helping with the cost to truck a car from New York to Alabama. But I appreciate it, man. $2 more Canadian going into the Rebuild a Car Fund. Love the B-roll on the channel, D&D and Wide Open Roads. I appreciate that, man. Sometimes I do driving, sometimes I do wrenching. Right now we're ripping apart brakes on a 280ZX. So let's have a little funsy here. I looked at a thing, and this is what the Dice and Dynos part of this is. I was thinking, what kind of car people are the various different parts of the TTRPG fandom, I guess you could say. And I scribbled a few down. I'm sure this could do some refining and whatnot, but let's see. Let's start with the Bro SR. We do like the Bro SR. Right? You know what sticks out to the Bro SR? I think about people who they love that raw power, that pure brute force that's good at absolutely just one thing. All right, only one thing. They lay that rubber down. They go full throttle, straight ahead, big meaty power when it actually works. And they, of course, ignore all the time that it falls apart and that the electrical systems short out and fry their game and things stop working. And, none of that matters. And, of course, they have to be completely obnoxious about it, right? It doesn't sound like the Bro SR. They got to talk about it all the time. You know, they're the kind of people who'd have giant stickers with the brand of their car slapped on the back of their car like you missed what it was. You know, everybody has to have this. Probably, you know, swear up and down about no replacement for displacement and that kind of thing. So when I think about the Bro SR, you are Dodge owners. That's right, you're Dodge owners. You're in complete denial about the fact that your system is entirely unreliable, breaks down all the time. The barrier to entry is super, super low because while Dodge will finance absolutely anybody who has a pulse and probably half the people who don't, the Bro SR gives away 90% of their stuff for free. Bronstein's everywhere. And you know what? Oh, yeah. If you want to say the only thing that exists in this world is highway pulls where you race from 55 miles an hour to 100, you're extremely obnoxious about it, and it's all about big, powerful engine that you don't actually bother to learn how to drive very well in the first place. That to me, that's got to be the Bro SR. Does anybody here think that there's a better car, a better group of car owners for the Bro SR? Yeah. In the movie Cars, that was considered a tramp stamp. Talking about when you have your brand slapped across the back glass. I mean, that's the Bro SR. The Bro SR is a Dodge Challenger that has Dodge stamped in a gigantic vinyl sticker down the side. And they love to tell you about the insane horsepower and how they got the Hellcat motor in it. And that is the whole time that they're sitting outside the electrical shop waiting for them to rewire the damn thing because it broke down again. And that is the Bro SR. Let's face it. The Bro SR play style does, and they will be the first ones to admit it when they're not bullshitting and lying to everybody. Their games are not designed to have lengthy campaigns. They're not. They're designed to last 6 months at the most. They're designed to, you know, run, you know, a couple dozen sessions every week, pushing that 1-to-1 time. And their whole thing falls apart. And it falls apart because those mechanics don't lend themselves to long-lasting campaigns, just like owning a Dodge does not lend you to a long time of having a functional vehicle. See, what are the Chevy owners in the TTRPG fandom? I'm not entirely sure. And you know what? I don't have Chevy down here on my list right now. But let's think about Chevy. What is a Chevy owner? You know, they tend to be kind of obnoxious, just like me. I mean, I'm a Chevy guy. I love a Camaro. Chevy they are the if it ain't broke, don't fix it group. And a lot of times they're also the if it is broke, don't fix it group. Okay. So the Chevy is like, hey, we made the 350 short block and basically we're going to use this as the platform for all of our small block engines. And we're going to do that from like 1960 all the way up through like all damn near all the way to 2000. And then in 2000, we're, you know, in the late 90s, we're going to make the we're going to make the LS motor, and the LS motor is going to be our basis for everything. Why? Because the damn thing works. It's easy to work on. It's cheap. All right. That's what it is. So, who in the TTRPG reflects that the if it ain't broke, don't fix it, thinks that what they're driving is way, way better than it actually is 9 times out of 10. Does have some glimpses of brilliance if you get the exact right one or if you do it the exact right way, but you're still a poor. Because that's kind of what it is. It's like, it doesn't matter how badass your Corvette is or how much money you've dumped into your Camaro. If you're driving a Chevy, you're always looked at as the poor. Like you couldn't afford something better. So what group would this represent? You know, I hate to say it, but that might be your standard 5e person. Or I guess you can say it's actually no. Here you go. I'm going to take this one for myself. This is your 3.5 purists, and maybe your Pathfinder 1E people. I think Pathfinder 1E people are those weird Chevy people who think that the factory Chevy you can barely do anything to is the one to go with, or like the oddball motors, like they think 305s are great, or they're running around in 6 liters. They're the LT1 guys. But yeah, there you go. Dungeon Delver popping in here. Pathfinder players buy classic Pontiac GTOs and do an LS swap. I can get down with that. It's like they've got perfection and then they have to throw in the modern stuff. That's it. So I think that's what it is, because Chevy people, you can make tremendous power and performance, or you can completely screw it up, and it's pretty easy to get everything. I'm going to say that 3.5 D&D and Pathfinder 1 is where you find your Chevy folk. I like that one. You drive a 2024 Mazda 3 and play Shadow Dark. That actually kind of works. I can make fun of that. I really can. Because what is Mazda? Mazda is somebody who buys a cheap, extraordinarily reliable, extraordinarily economical grocery getter that they've done everything on the planet to make look like it's a BMW or something. It's like, please, 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 my $20,000 car really is a luxury ride. It's kind of like when, the Kia and the Hyundai people get like the Genesis that has like the fake Bentley badge on it and whatnot. And that's how they're trying to do it. But Mazda really wants to make you think that Mazda is a luxury mark. That's what they are. They're an epic driving experience. It's like, no, you're not. No, you're not. You're a Ford Focus. You're a really good car, and you've given me some extra tweaks and stuff. And that could be Shadow Dark. I think that is Shadow Dark. Shadow Dark's the Mazda. It's like, Shadow Dark's great. It's quite a bit overhyped. And there's a lot of people who are Shadow Dark people who are insistent that it's way more than what it actually is. If it ain't broke, make 5.5e. That, you know what? I'm gonna throw this to the chat. I'm gonna give you I'm gonna give you a chat one right here. We're gonna go to Noble Shield, who's been here forever. Noble Shield, who are the Tesla people? I didn't say the Tesla people, but we do know EV guys. Okay. We do know EV guys. Not quite. I got one for them, Dungeon Delver. Hold on. But close. Who are the electric vehicle people? Let's think about what is an electric vehicle. First off, we all know everybody in our life who owns an electric vehicle because they told us. And then they told us again. And then they told us again. And then they told us again. And none of these times they told us was it ever in anything that had anything to do with the car. They just somehow managed to sneak the fact that they drive an electric vehicle in. Let's see here. They will be really quick to tell you about their insane acceleration and how they get to have a low gas bill while they completely ignore the giant electric battery. If they're the environmental activist type, they will be extremely irritating about how they're an evolved people, right? I am an evolved person. I have transcended things like having to compensate for my manhood with a clumsy gasoline engine. We're the elite. You just, as South Park did. They sit around and they fart in a glass and they sniff it and they compare the tasting notes of their farts. This is the EV crowd. All right. This is the EV crowd. And especially if you're Tesla, oh boy, man, you're going to talk about how you can accelerate from 0 to 60 so fast. You're not going to talk about how you can't go around a corner to save your life. You're not going to talk about how expensive everything is. You're not going to talk about the fact that you're rolling on a bomb if anything ever sets it on fire. None of that stuff. You're not going to talk about how much more expensive your power bill is charging that stupid thing, or how if you're late to work one day and you got a low charge, you got to call your boss and tell him you're going to be 2 hours late because that's how long it takes the rapid charger to refill you. You're just going to tell everybody how great everything is, despite the fact that there are massive, glaring errors all over the place. And you, my friend, are going to be a 4D role player. That is what you are going to be. You are part of the 4D crowd. You are going to tell everybody about just how the pinnacle of everything, despite the glaring examples of how your shit really doesn't work. And just like the 4D crowd, if you want to take a drive, it's going to take you hours upon hours to explain to somebody how the 4D stuff works. And then they're going to play 3 sessions before they leave, and you're going to start a new campaign and have to do it all over again. So just like the Tesla driver, just like the EV driver, you're going to drive, you're going to run out of juice, and it's going to be a long time before you get to do it again. You're powered by the apocalypse. 2d6 and like a page of rules. Shit, man, that hurts. I feel for you, man. $7 a gallon. I'm down here bitching about it being $3.80 again all of a sudden. Though I do have to point this out to folks. Let's keep in mind that back in like the late, pulling into the late 2010s, so we had like $5 gas even down here in Alabama. So I think at one point in time it was getting close to 10 in Cali. So perspective. Bill, thank you, sir, for coming back. Appreciate that. Got to get back to the con. Throw a sub to me if you haven't. That is awesome. That's fantastic. And by the way, funny thing, no one has made me relinquish my convention. I wonder if that has something to do with more nonsense that came from a certain bird brain moron. Let's see here. There you go. Hear that? Walkers are powered by the apocalypse. Oh, man. Ooh, Toyota. Whoa. $2 a liter. Jesus Christ, man. Y'all get just ripped over there in Europe. That is bad. So let's see here. What have we done? We've done 4D and we've done the Bro SR. How about this? How about something that absolutely 100% refuses to change? Like it does the exact same thing over and over again. Every year it comes out and it says, this is the brand new one. It's absolutely brand new, but it's really the exact same damn thing again. Of course I'm talking about Porsche. I mean, it works. It's performance ride. It has its faults. They'll never fix its faults. Why are they never going to fix its faults? Because they're never going to do anything except for hang the engine over the back axle and slap 911 on the side. And there's 5,000 different 911s every single year. It's like, what's that car over there? So it's a 959. A 959, yeah, it's a 911. It's a 958. 958, it's a 911. 911 Carrera Turbo, 911 GT, 911 GT3, 911 GT4, 911 GT3 Turbo, 911 GT2. It's all the same damn car. Think about this. What have they done in the past like 50 years to the 911? They've streamlined the headlights a little bit, made it just a tiny bit pointier, but they're still running the same boxer engine over the back axle with the same problems. But, German reliability, it works. If you're okay with ignoring the inherent problems of throwing yourself into a ditch because it's very, very, very unforgiving to drive. But what kind of gamer represents this? Let's see here. Never going to change. Releases the exact same thing every year, but insists that it's new. It performs extremely well, but it's entirely just terribly unforgiving. Anybody got an idea about who might be Porsche? Let's get a couple of guesses in chat real quick. Of course, we got some fun folks over here talking about ice cream trucks and Volvos, which believe it or not, Volvo is here, and Volvo is not Rift's players, though I could definitely think Rift players. Volvo might be better than mine for Rift's players. Rifts may be better for Volvo than mine. Maybe. Yep. Indie games are coming up. The indie games and indie game designers, they are on their way. Nobody has a guess about this. Releases the exact same thing over and over and over again with minor adjustments and calls it new. Is very reliable, but is also extraordinarily forgiving and is very fun. Fun does have great performance. My friend, if you were in the OSR, you are a Porsche driver. You will insist over and over again that this newest OSR game is a new thing. It's great. It's so much different. You're the old school revolution or the old school renaissance, whichever you choose to call it. But no, you are releasing AD&D over or basic or BX over and over and over again with a tiny little adjustment and insisting that it is a different vehicle. Thank you. I appreciate that. To me, that one does make sense. I think that one might make sense than the rest of these. But yes, the OSR, you are 100,000% Porsche owners. You've told me 1,000 times that this is a brand new car, and no, it's not. It's just another 911. It's the same damn thing year in and year out. There goes half my stream. All my people are running out now. They're all leaving. Why? Because, wait a minute, you said the OSR doesn't ever change. I just did a brand new thing. Mine's exactly the same, except for I use a sand timer to time people's channels. I'm still driving my grandfather's 57 Chevy in my mind. I would be too, because that's a damn fine place to be. I mean, no airbags, we die like real men, and the no power steering, so we steer like real men, and that drive shaft is essentially just a spear that's going to go through your chest if you hit anything, but damn, you're going to look good doing it, and you're going to sound good doing it. And everybody's going to get a good look because you're going to be incredibly slow, and you have to stop at every single gas station. But damn, you're going to look good doing it, and you're going to love it. Just asked. Oh, yes, you did. Props to God of Ka. Yes, he dibbed it. Porsche is the Porsche is indeed the OSR. How about this? What about Jaguar? You like Jaguar? We'll do. You know what? We're going to jump ahead. We're not even going to do it. I'll come back to Jaguar. We'll go straight to the Grognards. How about we talk about the Grognards? Because you know what I said, the Grognards? Because this definitely fits. This fits 100%. Because here we go. Can I ask you a question? Would you call yourself a Grognard there, poor orc child? With your 57 Chevy pickup truck, and you first learned to drive in a 54 GMC one time, granny gear, pulling an irrigation pipe trailer. Would you please grace the chat, poor orc child? Are you a Grognard? And the answer, yes, he's 61. Because what do I have Grognards down as? I ain't lying. You guys are. We're all gonna. I'm about to do some spoilers. Spoiler alert. But I want you to look right down here where my hand is and what I got to say right there. What's that say? Grognard, old truck guy. 100% Grognard, old truck guy. Why? Because what does the old truck guy do? He sits around and he bitches constantly about anybody else's car. Well, I don't need to buy no new car. My car's been running fine since 67. Like, that truck was good enough for my grandpappy. It's good enough for my pappy, and it's good enough for me. I got 947,000 miles on the frame. It's like, yeah, dude, but you're on your 12th motor. you're on your 15th version of AD&D. You got your new OSR game, but God forbid you go past. We're talking TSR till the day I die. I don't need no fuel injection. Don't you give me one of them automatic transmissions. I need my granny crawler gear. I mean, Grog. The only really argument you're going to have between grognards is like, is it step side or fleet side? Yes, yes. If you are a grognard, you are an old pickup truck guy. It doesn't matter if it's a show truck or if it's half held together with rust. Doesn't matter if it's showroom condition with 10,000 original miles on it, or if the damn thing is on its 9th transmission and its 8th motor and is at like 670,000 miles and ain't done nothing but pull up tree stumps for its entire life. Gentleman Jim, black and gold fleet side, long bed, regular cab truck. That is what you are if you are a grognard. And you know what you do? You rumble up to the truck stop where they have the car show out in front of it every Saturday. You rumble up. Everybody can hear you coming from 10 miles away. It takes you 15 minutes to start your truck because your truck has to be, you got to go out and adjust the carburetor and do 14 other things just to get the stupid thing to crank up because it's so temperamental now. The color is somewhere between rust and patina. Nobody can breathe for 100 yards behind the thing. But you're going to park it there and you're going to tell us all how that kid over there that just pulled up in that brand new Ferrari is like, hey, he don't know what he's talking about. Got all them gizmos and electronics on it. Ain't going to be nothing. My truck will be here when the apocalypse comes. Jesus is going to drive my truck at the second coming. That's your grognard. Shaking their fists at clouds, yelling at these damn kids, telling you that Wizards of the Coast ruined everything. That's it. The Wizards, you know what Wizards of the Coast are? Wizards of the Coast, your fuel injection. Because carburetors, damn it, carburetors are where it's at. I hope you're happy with that poor orc child. I think he's proud of this now. I think he is. There you go, right there. You could push it to start it with push it and bot the clutch. Oh man, yeah. You know what the thing is I think I think we may have just made poor orc child's day. Since we mentioned it, Jeep. Family at the table. No, sir. If you know anything about Jeep, you are the activist gamer, is what you are. You are 5th edition activist gamer. That's what you are. Why? Because let's talk about the 5th edition activist gamer. They claim all of that great lineage from 1st edition, 2nd edition, 3rd edition. They claim Gary Gygax's achievements. They talk about all the great things that they used to be, but what are they now? They're 5.5 D&D, which essentially is covered in rubber ducks and painted weird purples and pinks and rainbows, riding around in the Pride Parade. And if you ever actually do take it offline, all you're going to do is lock up its pathetic rear end, blow out its motor because they don't have the inline 6 anymore, and it's going to have 14,000 electrical problems and stop running after 5,000 miles because it's a Dodge. Yeah, that's what you are. You're an activist player pushing your political and social message with your game that barely runs anymore and lives off of the last dying vestiges of an old reputation. Oh, and by the way, you're going to pay more for it than anything else. And that's what you're going to pay like 60, 70 grand for now. There you go. You're going to go out there and spend $200 to get your 5.5 ebooks to tell everybody about your pastel colors and your collection of rainbow rubber duckies. There you go. What's with the duck? You know what? I wish Pat. That is a modern Jeep thing where they put those little rubber duckies on people's bumpers. Nobody who's ever actually been in the mud knows anything about them because they go on pavement princesses, mall crawlers, not on real Jeeps. But yeah, for those who don't know, yeah, poor old child. I don't know what it is. My uh, Comcast has not been the best for me here, so I've had a couple of blips, unfortunately. But hopefully it's stabilized out a bit. What I may do, let's see here. Let me go to my camera settings. And let's do this. That might help. It's going to look uglier, but it might help because I'm going to go ahead and lower myself down to 480p instead of high definition. Sorry, you guys can't see the 2 gray hairs in my beard. But yeah, I mean, that's Jeep right there. Can we all agree on that? Does that sound about right? Living off of the largesse of a long forgotten and lost history. I believe I was talking about Jaguar, and I got a bust on myself a little bit here because let's face it, I mean, right there in my channel logo is a picture of my Jag, which kills me that I no longer have that parked in the driveway. But what is a Jaguar? Well, yeah, there we go. Let's have another little blip in the internet. That'll work. Because I don't have smooth, refined performance from Xfinity right now. Bastards over at Comcast. But so smooth, refined performance, a badge that has a lot of history, but just especially in recent years hasn't been able to keep its shit straight and can't ever really seem to keep the message right. But they fly under the radar. They're like, we have luxury and performance, but we don't like to brag about it. And we're kind of quiet and we don't open our liability problems and the fact that our values fall like through the floor like the second we buy one, and so you never get rid of your Jag because you're always upside down in it even when it's paid for. And how now it's owned by a bunch of crazy Indian company that has no ties to its history anymore. But that's the thing though, nobody cares. Nobody cares that there's a lot of unreliability and kind of a crapshoot on whether or not the Jag you buy is actually going to last, because everybody, it's just such a joy to be in one. And that's a Hickman Revolution game. Ha! That's right. There's no bias here. That is a Hickman Revolution game. Because let's face it, when it comes to narrative gameplay, there is nothing better than the Hickman Revolution original. We're going to play the game and we're going to let the game have a very heavy hand in the story, but we're actually going to have a story. It is going to be a consistent narrative. It is not going to be a just random table romp. However, our games do fall apart on a regular basis when the story kind of gets stale or when people decide they don't care about certain things, or the dice rolls just kind of kill some people who might have been important, or your electrical system fries your V12 and now it's just a lawn ornament out in your front yard and your wife is constantly asking you to get rid of it and no mechanic ever wants to work on it because it's completely busted. Just like that old campaign you got sitting on the shelf that you keep telling yourself you're going to finish it one day, you're going to get your players together and you're going to finish that game, but not today because it's too hard to fix. That's the Hickman Revolution Game Master. That is our lot in life, is to have stacks of half-finished campaigns that something stupid screwed up. But we're too honest with ourselves to, cheese the system to try and get the game back on track. So we just have that botched half story over there. And it's sitting right next to our V12 Jag that doesn't run anymore. When I was in high school, the most memorable car I had was a 69 Plymouth Fury, and it was puke green. It was not puke green. It wasn't. Let's see here. Plymouth. What would Plymouth have been there? Would that have been Radical Green? Let's see. Legend Lime Green was the Ford. Let's look it up real quick. Plymouth colors, 1969. I know what that factory color is going to be. You are probably going to be, my guess would be probably Mighty Green Poly. Either that or Limelight Green. That's going to be what it is for a Plymouth Fury. Gotta love Dodge colors. Dodge colors are crazy. Was it kind of that like almost neon green, that kind of bright, like vibrant green hue that's just like obnoxious, like a muscle car green, or was it the darker green? That's the real question there. That's right, guys. Our gaming channel here is our gaming stream has now gone off into what 1969 Plymouth color was poor Orc Child's 69 Plymouth Fury. Close enough, and it was faded later. Lightish green, yeah. You were probably the Mighty Poly Green, or I can't remember what that crazy green that the Road Runners used to come in all the time was. Thank God for forums where I can see a template PDF of like an actual 19, because this is how car guys are. Like real car guys, they still have the color booklet for their car. Here we go. Got it right here. Go into the Mopar shop. Plymouth. You bastards are not. There it is. Yep. That's what you are. You're in the Mighty Poly Green. Some stupid ass stuff. Gotta love car colors. Yes, derailment does happen, but it really does happen. When you're talking about a 1969 Plymouth Fury, which here's the thing, if I'm not mistaken, the Plymouth Fury is actually the Dodge Dart. So it is somewhat related to this channel because the car we're going to be fixing up is a Dodge Dart, which is essentially a Plymouth Fury. I think, if I'm not mistaken, the Plymouth Fury is the two-door version of the Dodge Dart. But, I mean, dude, you had a 69 Plymouth Fury. I don't care what color it is. I'd have been happy. But isn't that the way it always is? I remember my older brother used to argue with a really good friend of his over who had the ugliest car in school, and he couldn't wait to get rid of Big Red. Right? Big Red. So, four-door Fury, yeah, I'm almost 100% certain it was the Dart then. So you just had the four-door Dart instead of the two-door. I'm almost 100% certain, and now you forced me to look it up. But my older brother was, oh no, we're just not going to have. I can't wait to get rid of Big Red. I got to drive the old family car, Big Red, and he hated Big Red, right? And I look at that and I'm like, when I got older, I was like, what the hell is wrong with you, dude? You had a 76 two-door Impala that, because the engine had blown up in it, Dad dropped a 427 big block in. You had a 400 horsepower two-door Impala, and you're talking about you have the ugliest car you can't wait to get rid of. Like, don't we all have that, where it's like our older sibling or something had a car that they hated and like, I can't wait to get rid of this piece of crap, and we're like, you look back and you're like, no, just hold on to it long enough for me to have it. Oh my God. Is that what it is? There's the Plymouth Fury right there. That's a beautiful car. Well, I mean, it was a beautiful car back in the 50s for sure. Here we go. 5th generation Fury. Definitely a complete boat. And then, of course, they have the Grand Fury, which is the sport model. Yeah, 6-pack. Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Yes, the Dodge Dart. That's what it is. Same thing as the channel car. No, I don't still have pictures of Big Red. I wish I did. Actually, my dad might somewhere. I could probably dig it up. It was a red Chevy two-door 76 Chevy two-door Impala with a red interior and a white vinyl top. Easily fit 5 people in, so you drive in style so my friends could drink. Man, are you kidding me? Of course you did. Of course you did. Of course, if you had the two-door, it could have sat 8 people. Are you kidding me? You're talking about a 69 Plymouth Fury. You probably could have put 5 people on the bench seat in the front. Let's play a little bit more here, shall we? Let's talk about people who everything is tied up in their consistency and reliability, right? It's all about the precision of the machinery, right? It can go through anything. It's completely safe. Tank, that kind of deal. Nothing can stop it. You don't need to do any changing or working on it at all because it is what it is. And as long as it does exactly what it's supposed to do, it's everything you want it to do, right? It's like it drives from point A to point B. It parks in the parking spot. It fits in the parking deck. It runs. It cranks when you turn the key. It's reliable transportation that is safe and does everything it's supposed to. And it doesn't need to do anything else. And you damn sure don't need to work on it. Why? Because it's a Volvo, right? It's a Volvo. All the systems are contained. You don't modify anything on a Volvo. You replace on a Volvo. And you replace with the exact same thing it had before. All right? And who are the people who don't change anything? Wargamers. That's who. Wargamers. Give it to me exactly as it came from the factory. Don't tell me anything else about it. It works in exactly this thing. It has to be in this exact configuration. And we are not going to have any modifications because we are Wargamers. And as Wargamers, we drive Volvos. We drive Volvos because we don't care about any kind of fashion, any kind of style. We don't care about whether or not something has any kind of narrative appeal. All we care about is that it runs on exactly the system it's supposed to. And when it goes 6 inches, it goes exactly 6 inches because we drive Volvos and we play war games. So if you think that's our wargamer, what's our TTRPG raw purist? Who's the guy who's obsessed with rules as written? Has to be exact. What is the basic expert? Oh, it's got to be raw, right? Don't change anything. Where does that put riffs then? I'm not sure, man. Where would that put riffs? Maybe riffs is like a sob because you just have to be different. You got to be out there. that make sense? We have the engineering of a fighter jet in our car, and nobody's ever heard of us. So that's what we are. We're a Saab. What does the chat think? Does the chat think that Saab is a good thing for riffs? Nobody's ever heard of us. We're put together like a fighter jet. And here's the thing, even car guys don't know about Saabs. Only Saab guys know about Saabs. Just like TTRPG players don't know a damn thing about riffs. Only people who play rifts know about rifts. But yeah, so when we look back at it, we say, what is that raw purist, right? Everything's got to be rules as written. I'll tell you who they are. They're Ferrari. That's right. They're Ferrari. They're going to tell you about how nothing performs like their rules as written game. There is no comparison. And by the way, if you run any other kind of game that's not rules as written, well, that's okay. You just don't fit in to the club. You're a car driver. You're a car owner. They're Ferrari owners. It's different. They don't have cars. They have Ferraris. They're never going to tell you, hey, go bring my car around. They're going to tell you, bring my Ferrari around. There is, and that's the thing. It's rules as written. So they're the only ones who are actually playing the game. That's who they are. They're special like that. And nothing's ever actually faster. I mean, if it's faster, it's probably not faster in this way, or, it probably blows up, or, there's only 2 of those. So does it really count? I mean, as a diehard Ferrari fan, I am well acquainted with all the excuses for why we keep losing in Formula One every year now. There's always a reason. And this year is always our year, which is exactly what the rules as written people are. You will eventually come to understand that rules as written is the only pure way to do it. Rules as written is the master race. Wait a minute. That's Mercedes. Anyway, so yes, rules as written purist. You are a Ferrari. Everybody hates you except for the people who are you. And you seem to think that you're better than everyone else, and everybody else is just like, shut the hell up and sell me my car. To give you an idea, let's talk a little bit about Ferrari real quick. So Ferrari is a wonderful thing because Ferrari has built a legacy and a brand. Kanye West is no longer allowed to buy Ferraris. Neither are any of the Kardashians. You know why? Because they are considered an embarrassment to the brand. They harm Ferrari by owning the cars. You want to buy a brand new Ferrari? I'm sorry. I don't care how much money you have. Show me the 2 or 3 used Ferraris that you've already purchased that proves that you're of the caliber necessary to buy a Ferrari. This sounds a whole lot like rules as written, people. Doesn't it? It really does. And of course, Jay Leno, the carest guy of all car guys, the man who doesn't drink, never did drugs, didn't cheat on his wife ever, barely ever used anything when it came to his money. But he's got a list of cars a mile long of everything from steam cars all the way up to one-off McLaren special editions. However, he does not own a single Ferrari. And the reason he doesn't own a Ferrari is because he thinks that the Ferrari business model is bullshit. So, Jay Leno owns all the games, has played all of them, has played with every kind of player on the planet, but he ain't playing with them Raw guys. But that's okay, because according to the Raw guys, he's never actually played a game. And according to the Ferrari guys, he doesn't actually own any cars. Let's see here. Totally didn't do XYZ. Sounds familiar, doesn't it? It sure does. It sure does. Sounds real familiar. Where was this here? Need to pick your brain when I get the vehicle rules from my TTRPG Elf Camino. Hey, I'm down for that. Elf Camino sounds like that sounds like right up my alley right there. It's brilliantly smart ass, and I can enjoy that. You know, I mentioned the oh yeah, there he goes. The turbine car was interesting, ran on just about anything that would burn. Yes, Leno owns, I believe it's the last one. No, it's the second to last one. There are 2 Chrysler turbine cars left. They made, I think, 5 of them or 10 of them or something. The turbine car was a high heat turbine powered car that would run off anything that burns. So it'd run off, like, they did this thing where they, it's from the 60s. They did this thing where they took it to Mexico City and they ran it on tequila. They took it to Paris and they ran it on Chanel No. 5 perfume. They took it to England and they ran it on gin. Basically, if it'll burn, it would make the car run. It's a really awesome car. But Chrysler got a government bailout way back in like the 70s. And part of the bailouts, part of the bailouts terms involved them destroying all of these turbine cars. And to the best of my knowledge, there's 2 of them left. One is in a museum and one is in Jay Leno's. Jay Leno owns the other one. And it's cool as hell. I mean, it really is. It turns at like 15,000 RPM, so it sounds like and it's literally a jet engine. It's a turbine, just like a jet would have. And it runs off of anything that'll burn. So you can put kerosene in it, all kinds of craziness. And it is cool as hell. But Chrysler had to give up that project as part of their bailout terms. No one of consequences jumped in to say hi. We have already talked about Condor way more than I would have liked. We have talked about one-to-one time a little bit. We have talked about one-shot quester. We have talked about comment section in my videos. And now we're currently talking about what kind of cars and what car companies represent different parts of the TTRPG hobby. Just sitting around having a good time here. And of course, we're also talking about the brand new indie game, Elf Camino. Trademark, do not steal. So I talked about BMW earlier. Who do we think the BMW is of the TTRPG world? You know how BMW people are. Ultimate driving machine. You just don't understand. By the way, we're just going to merge on top of you because I drive a BMW and you just get out of the way. What turn signal indicator? We don't need that turn signal indicator. We're just not going to use that. What kind of player is that in the TTRPG world? You know, there's parts of the car that they just don't use ever. See you, man. Enjoy that 57 Chevy. Or was it a 56 GMC, I think he talked about. Doesn't matter. Enjoy all of them. Assholes. Yes, assholes. They are assholes. Like, of course, the thing is, I think most of these have been assholes so far, even though we've kind of talked about everybody. Let's think about it. No, not a murder hobo. Not a murder hobo, God of Ka. Not a murder hobo. Who is, as a group of people in the TTRPG hobby, they randomly decide that they don't need to use various things on their car, like turn signals or hazard lights or horns, or side mirrors or rear view mirrors. They kind of think that they're the only ones who own the hobby anymore, do whatever the hell they want to, and everything they do is right. Everything you do is wrong. They seem to think that they are way, way better drivers than everybody else when they really aren't. Who do you think Who is this in the TTRPG? Oh, look at that. BMW drivers are the worst, especially if they drive a black BMW or if they're a theater kid. If they're a theater kid gamer, they are the absolute worst. What rule? We don't need that rule. That rule isn't any good. Rules are for fools. We just play the game however we want to, and we run over everybody else when we do. Don't get in the way of my player agency. Don't get in the way of my lane change. So, yeah, the BMW driver of the TTRPG rule is the obnoxious ass theater kid. Only cars. What would the 4-wheel drive 85 Toyota pickup with EFI be? They're part of one of the groups I already have up here. Matter of fact, we only got 3 more that I have in here. And we may as well go to Toyota because let's face it, Toyota comes into 2 people. Yes, by the way, yes, that's right. BMW is your critical role player. For those who don't know, the Toyota half ton, the Hilux from the 1980s and early 90s, it's like the poster child for regime change. Like every time you see a terrorist tearing ass through the desert in a pickup truck with a machine gun in the back, it's a Toyota half ton. And that's because they're indestructible. If you ever watched Top Gear, which is fantastic, even if you're not a car person, and I want to say it's season 3, they took a Toyota Hilux half ton and they set it on fire. They washed it out to sea. They dropped a trailer on it. They beat it with a wrecking ball. They ran it into a tree and into a bunch of other places. They drove it down stone steps. Basically did everything they possibly could to destroy it. And ultimately, they put it on top of a 50-story tower block that was demolished underneath it. So it was on top of a 50-story building that they blew up. And the truck fell, and they could not kill it. It's still, you bent a couple of things out of the way so like that the cooling fan didn't hit it anymore, and the stupid thing still cranked. They eventually gave up and said that it would be in bad form for them to continue trying to kill the stupid thing, because those trucks do not die ever, period, end of story. And really nothing does from that era. Corolla, you can beat that piece of shit for 740,000 miles and it keeps going. They just don't die. And that's half a Toyota. So, Toyota is made up of 2 large groups of people. The first part do not care about cars at all, do not want to care about cars at all, do not want to talk about cars at all. What they want to do is they want to buy a car so they can go places and never have to worry about it. So they buy a Toyota. They go and they buy a Camry. It's gray. It has a gray interior. It drives. It is completely, there's nothing unique about it. It disappears. It is the most boring, beige, bland thing on the planet. And it disappears into the background, but it does tend to work just about every time, and they get the enjoyment of knowing exactly where they're going with it. And then there's the other type of Toyota driver. These are these are the purists. These are the people who are nuts. These are the people who, with almost a religious fervor, do everything they possibly can to destroy their cars, knowing full well that they can't. They have trash in their Corolla piled up to the window level. It's been running hot for the past 20 years, and they just let the temperature gauge stay buried at all times because that helps cut down. They don't have to use the heater, so they can get 40 miles to the gallon instead of 38 by not using the heater in the window in the winter and just allowing the car to overheat because it simply will not die. Right? And they love to tell you how those ones will tell you all the time about how their Toyota never dies. It lasts forever. It never ends. It goes on for years and years and years, just like their Story Gamer campaign. it never ends. It can always continue to crank up and run, no matter how much you beat it to death, no matter how much you kill it, because they can always story their way out of the campaign ending. Or they just like serviceable games and they don't bother anybody because they just tell a story, and when the story's over, they get a new story, and their game works, and they don't care, and they don't watch YouTube videos, and they don't understand why we're all fighting about it. So take your pick. If you're a story gamer, you're one of these two types of Toyota. Story gamers for the win. Kind of sounds like it, in a way. I mean, think about it. You show me somebody who has like a 5-year or 6-year long running campaign, I'll show you somebody who's either a story gamer or pretends they're not. I'm looking at you, pundit. There's a reason why pundit says there's a difference between story gamers and storytelling, or story games and storytelling games. So your dad actually won one at the local Supercross when you were 4. Hey, man, that is awesome. And I'll bet you he does still drive it. My best friend had one, and that thing's still kicking around somewhere. Came with a set of, it had the off-road package, 4-wheel drive, stick shift. Came with the factory 32-inch Super Swampers on it, and it was indestructible. A tree fell on it on his way to pick me up for work one day. We worked at the same place, and he was coming to pick me up in a tree after a big storm, and a tree actually fell on it. And we were late to work. I mean, because we had to shove the tree off of the hood and, bang the thing out straight again and crank it up and continue to work. Did swap the engine out of 350K miles. Why would you ever put a Chevy in it? Because the thing is they probably could have rebuilt the stupid thing nice and clean. And I mean, I love a Chevy engine. I mean, you can't beat a good old 350, but why would you ever put that in something that's already bulletproof? I'm not shooting at pundit. I'm playfully tagging a friend. Was that to pay $3,000 to trade it in an old Datsun pickup? Here's the thing: that old Datsun pickup is probably still running. For those who don't know, Datsun is just a fun way to say Nissan from the 60s. The Nissan hardbody never ever got the love that it really deserved, because the Nissan hardbody is just as indestructible as the Toyota. It just didn't get blown up on British TV. Altaholic and Forever DM. You get bored and never kept a campaign going more than 2 years. I always want to start something new. Yeah, I'm pretty bad about that myself. I start getting to the point where I'm like, man, this campaign world is awesome, but I have chronic world builder syndrome. And I've built the world, and now the players are loving it and they're enjoying it, and they've been enjoying it for 1.5 years. And I'm like, I don't have anything left to build. Y'all are just living in the world I built. Let me build something new. But because I don't just force them into wrapping up a story, they just keep playing in the world I built for too long. Friend is used loosely in this kind. It's not used too loosely. I mean, come on now. Pundit and I have never had an unfriendly interaction. I mean, it's used loosely in the context. It's not like he's not on my Christmas card list, and it's not like I invited him over for Thanksgiving dinner. But I would not call him an enemy by any stretch of the imagination, at least not, on my end. I mean, he has his problems with other people, but I'm a firm believer that I deal with people in the way they treat me and the way they act with me. So until pundit decides to do something really retarded to me, or does something publicly that's just so bad it can't be ignored, then we're not going to go there, at least on my side. But loosely in the context of he's not on my emergency contact list. Let's see here. I got 2 more on my list. If anybody else has somebody that they'd like to throw in the chat as somebody they'd like to see what car company I might pick for a group in the TTRPG hobby before I hit these last 2, go ahead and do it. But One of these was actually mentioned before. I guess I'll go ahead and do it first while I'm waiting on some of those folks to maybe come in with some ideas here. But we spoke earlier about a group, and I think that the Mercedes Benz is perfect for them. That's what I think, the Mercedes Benz. Why? Because you know how Mercedes people are. Don't worry, my friend. Is like, Mercedes Benz. They always talk about the refinement of their Mercedes Benz. They always park it right up front, and they take up 2 parking spots. Make sure everybody sees their Mercedes Benz. And they're either fabulously wealthy or at least extraordinarily well off, and they're pulling up in 700 series, or they are desperately trying to look like they're something they're not, and they're running around with a leased C-Class that they can barely afford. They're eating ramen when they get to the house so they can afford the payments on. But either way, it doesn't matter because they have clout. Because they're the best. They are a Mercedes Benz. And they are the indie people. It doesn't matter how crap their car actually is or how good it actually is. They're better. And you don't understand because you're not indie. And this is where it comes through because you have Mercedes, like a mid-90 C-Class that's the most garbage car on the planet, but it's got that stupid silver arrow badge on it. Costs 4 times as much as anything else. And there's your indie game that's basically a piece of garbage that barely works because somebody hardly put any work into it. Or you have your Shadow Dark that's like your AMG that runs like a bat out of hell and is built on perfection. But it doesn't matter because all that matters is that on the front of your car is that silver arrow that says, I am indie and I drive a Mercedes Benz. Even if your Mercedes Benz is worth less than my shirt, runs on 1 cylinder when it runs, is completely falling apart, and nobody in their right mind would ever want to own it, and you slap Neo TTRPG on the custom license plate. A gnomish version of Elon Musk and a tiefling Netanyahu in the world. They'll be forced to visit another world before you know it. Oh my God. We already went over EV owners, Mike. You missed us. You missed it when we talked about how the EV owners were the 4D role-playing guys. But yes, God of Kai, you were asking, you were still waiting on indie designers. Not just indie designers, but the people who obsess about indie TTRPGs. They are the Mercedes-Benz people of the world. Over there bragging about how much they paid for something. Because that's how Mercedes-Benz people are. They sit in the service aisle, and instead of complaining about who had to pay what for what service, they're competing with each other. Well, my oil change was $300. Really? Well, I had my tires rotated for $500 today. What's the Cutlass Supreme of TTRPGs? Oh, man, that's a tough one. I'm going to tell you, that is a tough one. What is the TTRP, the Cutlass Supreme of TTRPGs? Okay, so we need something that doesn't die, that runs forever. But it doesn't run very well. It pretends to be something that's luxury, but it's really not, and it never was. What is it going to be? It's not a good looking car, unless you're talking about like a late 60s Cutlass. What? Because when you say a Cutlass Supreme, I'm thinking like an 85 Cutlass 4-door. So I'm sitting here thinking, what would be a Cutlass Supreme? What game is that? Because like I said, it has to run. It has to constantly, you can't be something that's killable. It has to be something that people perceive. Is it? I don't know. Boy, that's a tough one. Wonder if that's Traveler. I wonder if that's people who play Traveler. Because it technically runs, even if it doesn't run that great. Is that Draw Steel? Is that Draw Steel right there? Nah, Draw Steel's not old enough, I don't think. I might need Pundit on for that one. Butter steering. V8 boat with butter steering, but not good for picking up the ladies. Define butter steering. If you mean that you can turn the wheel halfway to lock and it doesn't actually turn the front wheels, then yes, butter steering. It's more like it's more like big boat with a V8 with boat steering. Because you got your big wheel to get out of the storm. I haven't gone 4 full D yet. The dude explaining it to you made it sound like it was normal play with a stupid name. No, it's stupid play with a stupid name. It's ridiculous. 4D role playing. The theater kids of all theater kids. I find them to be like, they're like a super elitist version of the bros. Like where the bros are like the obnoxious ass elitists. Think of the bros as like Yankees fans or like Patriots fans. They're obnoxious as hell. They're from all over the spectrum, and they act like they're better than everybody else because of the team they play for. The 4D role playing crowd, they're more like, like people who unironically subscribe to the New Yorker. That's who they are. They sit around in leather wingback chairs with brandy sniffers and talk about how much better they are than everybody else. You just don't understand the great intricacies of 4D roleplay. I feel sorry for you. Butter as and you could turn it with a light pinky, but yes, it took 20 revolutions to change lanes. Yeah, that sounds like a cutlass. Quick fun aside. My best friend and I were in a car club when we were in our late teens. And by car club, I mean there were 2 of us. It was just he and I. And our car club was called the 5AJ, or the Fifth Avenue Jalopies, because I had a Chrysler Fifth Avenue and he had a 4-door Cutlass Supreme. They're actually both in really, really good shape with really low miles. But yeah, that was our car club, the Fifth Avenue Jalopies. Big, gigantic, 10-mile to the gallon, garbage, carbureted V8s in the middle of the 80s that, I mean, you could literally just sit here and do this with the steering wheel driving down the road and drive perfectly straight because there was so much play in it. I mean, they didn't ride good, though. They only metagame in character and pretend not to metagame. Isn't that the damn truth? All right. So now that we've done them, let's see. Let's go down the list real quick, and we're going to hit the very last one here. The Bro SR, their Dodge. When it actually works, it runs like a bat out of hell, but it's good at exactly one thing, and it constantly breaks down and falls apart. And the barrier to entry is basically free because Stellantis will finance anybody. But Dodge people will tell you Mopar or no car till they're blue in the face. The OSR, they're the Porsche. Why? Because they keep telling you that a new model's coming out while they just make the 911 over and over and over again. And sure, it performs pretty well, but it's a rear, and if you don't know what you're doing, you're just going to catapult it into a tree somewhere and kill yourself. Just like with the OSR, your game's going to crash if you don't know what you're doing. But you can buy a brand new version of something that came out 50 years ago if that's what you really want. The Hickman Revolution or the Jaguar. There's something special about being it, and you really like being in it enough to overlook all of its massive faults and flaws. And you constantly look out in your front yard at that V12 Jaguar that doesn't run and hasn't run forever, and constantly think about the one day you're going to go back and actually fix it and run it again, but you never are because it's too hard to fix. The activist player runs a Jeep because it's all about shiny color. It's living off of the capital from a great brand that used to exist that shares the same name. But what you really got is a piece of crap that breaks down all the damn time. Doesn't really do what it's supposed to do. But you know what? You can hook that pride flag to it and run it down the parade in a nice shiny pink color with a bunch of rubber duckies on it. The story gamers, of course, are the Toyotas because they either come in the it just runs and it does what I want it to, so I'm okay with it crowd and I don't really care, or the I'm going to do everything I possibly can to destroy this, and this is how great it is because we're indestructible and unstoppable. The 4D gamers are, of course, the EV guys because they're going to tell you all about their 4D play and how much better it is and how they're better than everybody else because they're 4D, and how 4D is truly an intellectual pursuit and how it is really an evolved pinnacle form of gaming, but everybody just hates them and doesn't want them around, and they ignore the fact that it takes them, 8 hours to get a player ready to go. Then they get to play for a few sessions before they have to do another 8 hours to train a new player, while they plug their EV up. War gamers are, of course, the Volvo. Yes, it's indestructible. Yes, it runs like a Swiss clock. No, you don't replace parts. And no, you don't upgrade them or you don't enhance them. No. There are no modifications here. And who cares how it looks? The raw purist, of course, drives the Ferrari. Right. Fuck you, the great six. No, the straight six was a great engine before they stopped putting them in Jeeps. That's part of the problem here. And yes, everything else is broken trash. I've literally seen Jeeps that have less than 12,000 miles that have had more than 12,000 electrical faults. Raw purists are the Ferrari people of the world. You're either part of the club or you're not. And if you're not part of the club, you're just not good enough. And that's all there is to it. And you can't tell them any different. It doesn't matter if you're faster. If you're faster, it's because your car's a piece of crap one-off thing that it costs 10 times as much and doesn't have the horsepower per dollar. And, nobody has the complete package like that. And you change a Ferrari. If you change a Ferrari, you're kicked out of the club. If you're dead mouse and you paint your Ferrari and put that stupid ass mean taco cat on the side of your Ferrari, you're banned forever being in it again. If you change a rule or use rule 0 in a raw purist game, you're banned and you're kicked out of the club and you'll never own another Ferrari. If you drive a BMW, you're a theater kid. You don't care about anybody else. You'll wreck any game. If you have parts that you don't like for instance, turn signals, you don't use them. If you're a grognard, you are the old truck guy. You sit out in front of the McDonald's with your coffee that you get for free because you're a senior citizen. You drink 9 cups. You stay there till 1 o'clock in the afternoon, and you gripe about all these newfangled things and about how that car over there that is literally better at everything is crap because it doesn't have a carburetor, and carburetors are more reliable, and yours will run till the apocalypse while theirs dies. If you are part of the indie crowd, you're a Mercedes owner. Why? Because people just have to understand the intricacies and wonderful nature of a Mercedes-Benz. It's really more of an experience, and how much you pay for it is a badge of honor. I gave $80 to the Kickstarter. Really? I gave $100 to the Kickstarter to get the exact same game. And, how well it works is really kind of secondary to the fact that, it's a Mercedes-Benz. So that brings us to the last one. I'm going to let the chat guess on who this is. All right. Now, whenever some asshat doesn't use their blinker, I'm going to have to yell fucking theater kid out the window. Hey, I think that's doing you a favor, man. So here we go. There's 8 people in chat right now. I wish there were a good deal more. Maybe I should be like a bastard and be like, you have to super chat to tell me your answer. No. So I'm going to give everybody here a couple of seconds to put this in. The Nissan Altima. Altima. Nissan Altimas pass your Ferrari on the interstate doing 180. I don't know how they do 180 when the car is not supposed to. It's probably the weight reductions because all of the rear view mirrors have been busted off of it, and it got the weight reduction. The bumper's hanging off the back and it's not there anymore. I mean, reduced drag or something like that, reduced weight. And the only reason it's actually passing your Ferrari on the interstate is because your Ferrari driver understands that he doesn't want to wreck his Ferrari in the congested traffic, and your Altima driver thinks, these cars, I'll just weave in and out of this congested traffic at 120 miles an hour because I don't care. It's never mechanically sound. It's never running the way it's supposed to. Somehow the stupid thing keeps cranking up and going. It is the most dangerous thing on the road, and everyone is in absolute terror every time it pops on. Every time you see the Altima, you're like, how the hell is this thing still running? Why would anyone ever drive it? And how can I get as far away from it as possible? It is the poster child of single mom nurses. It is mechanically unsound. It has never been properly maintained. It's dirty as hell. Parts are falling off. Of course, the Altima driver thinks they're the greatest person on the planet. So, what part of the TTRPG hobby, chat, I ask you, is best represented by the Nissan Altima? When's the last time you saw an NSX in the wild? Well, NSXs are kind of weird because nobody buys them. NSXs fit a there's a problem with the NSX. See, the original NSX was, you know what? That is an extraordinarily good guess, man. Vampire the Masquerade may actually fit. That is not what I have written down, but I think you may be on to something there. But the NSX, okay, so the Honda NSX, when they brought it out, it was like, oh my God, we're basically going to have a Honda price for this elite supercar. And that's what they did. Ayrton Senna himself was a huge fan of the NSX. Problem was, it was still too expensive for anybody to pay for with a Honda badge on it, even an Acura badge on it. It's like, we're not paying Ferrari money. Yeah, it's fast. Yeah, it goes around the track good. Yeah, it's extremely reliable. But for that money, I can have a Ferrari badge. And the Ferrari badge is worth a whole hell of a lot more than just all the stuff Honda gives me. And then they have the new Honda NSX, which just doesn't quite measure up. The problem with the NSX is it always kind of fit between two gulfs of buyers. So it's always like the people who really want to buy it and can't afford it, the people who can afford it and just don't really want to buy it, and the Honda NSX always sits right here. But they are insane. And any car endorsed by Ayrton Senna is just, I mean, how can you say anything bad about it? Yeah. I guess you could say LARPers. So Craig Bragg has got a couple of guesses in there. Has anybody else got a guess on who is the Nissan Altima of the TTRPG world? Poor maintenance, falling apart. Nobody wants to see it. Going once, going twice. And friends, I have to say, the busted, dangerous, horrible Nissan Altima of the TTRPG world is none other than Condor DM. That's right. There is my contribution to the VultureVerse, folks. Condor DM is the Nissan Altima of the TTRPG world. Nobody actually wants it, but for some reason it's still around. It is falling completely to pieces. It is very poorly maintained, and everybody wants to stay away from it as far as possible. That cannot be anything other than Condor DM. If it were slightly better maintained, I'd say it's B-dubs. No, there's a new one, but as I stare at the gal's Mini with a $3,500 heater core. Yes. Yeah, Minis Mini could also be your indie gamer. Like certain parts of your indie gamer could be your mini driver because they really just want attention and they want to show you. Same thing with like the Fiat 500. It's like, I made an extremely bad financial choice to buy this car that is not reliable and is completely not practical, but it looks really unique in kind of a cool, funky way that's different than the sports car Neanderthals or the big truck guys compensating. It's very European. Glad you stayed a couple minutes past your bedtime to hear that Condor is the Nissan Altima. Altima, Altima. But yes, I kind of figured that would make your day, Gattaca. Well, guys, we're at 2 hours and 5 minutes now. And just like I said, this has been the most random, bloviating, just goof off stream that I've done. And I appreciate you guys hanging out here with me. Once again, definitely got to say, Craig Bragg, coming in, making it rain with the Canadian dollars. Love every last bit of it. I appreciate your support. I appreciate the help from everybody who's been here. And love that you guys came and chose to hang out with me when you could have done literally anything else. And talk about cars and TTRPGs. Guys, I will see you Monday for Intelligence is a Dump Stat. I do have the 7 Habits of Highly Effective Game Designers coming up. And if you haven't seen it already, I did finish up the last of the 9 alignments in the alignment series. So make sure you check it out and let me know what you got to go there. And so stick around, see what we got going on the channel. Everybody have a good evening. God bless. And yeah, let's see here. Last gal you dated had a Fiat 500, goofy ass as hell looking, but abnormally large feeling inside. Shift around traffic. Would rather be in an 80 CRX than a Fiat. Me too, because the CRX will actually run, where the Fiat is, you know what Fiat stands for. Fix it again tomorrow. All right, guys, or fix it again, Tony, depending on how much you want to mess on the Italians. But guys, appreciate y'all having fun with me. You guys have a good one, and I will see you next time.